Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are just making sure that people are joining. There are 700 people looking to join here, and it's an absolute pleasure to see you all here. I'm just going to let things settle in. And before we do that and dive into the actual event, I just want to make sure that people are taking their places. And you can watch in the meantime a background video on me, and in 2 minutes we will kick off. So I'll see you on the other side of this.
It can be one of those things which is both exciting and hard to do. It goes to Holistica Consulting. Congratulations to Holistica Consulting. What an amazing achievement. Are you there?
First up, I'd like to give CXO 2.0 Conference Visionary Award to the CEO of Holistica Consulting. It's the first to create a training academy for technical recruiters and HR and enable them to speak the language of IT with confidence and credibility. He's done a series of masterclasses to over 100,000 attendees. And recently, his training academy, oh goodness gracious. Hello, Ayub Sheikh.
The IT two-day masterclass from Holistica, probably one of the best training sessions that I have ever been in. It teaches you from the bottom to the top. It doesn't just teach you around IT itself, but the history behind it, where it came from, and why we are where we are today.
And I just want to learn more, really. I think the way that I teaches, you can tell how passionate he is about IT, and it's infectious, really. So I just want to go out and learn a lot more.
Many thanks to Ayub. Just completed the IT recruitment masterclass. I'd recommend it to anyone. I think it's brilliant. In terms of me moving forward, I know that this course is going to help me make a lot of money, and that's obviously going to benefit my life. So many thanks, and everyone else should go ahead and do it.
Woo! Okay, here we go, folks. We are diving into this. I want to get cracking. There's a lot of content-rich stuff coming over. Let's get some slides up here and let's just crack on to this. A huge topic, and of course, it is the statement, the question of our time today, the changing shape of anything as impacted by AI. And yeah, so you know about me. I can see from the people who registered, 700 odd people who registered, half of them were old friends, people who knew me from the past, know me as clients and whatever. But to some of you, I'm new. So, my name is Ayub Sheikh, Holistica Consulting CEO. And yeah, I've just basically spent the last 25 years doing one thing, and that is to demystify the terminology, the technology that you see on CVs. And I've just made it my passion in life to kind of make sure that when technology changes, then our industry gets to keep up. In other words, how can you sound credible and confident in front of anyone, a client or an IT candidate? How can you attract the best candidates in the market if you don't understand the context of the things that we are dealing with, the terms on CVs, the things mentioned in job specs? So that's really my thing. I turn your novice IT recruiters into world-class experts, especially during times of change. And boy, these are times of change. It's not just IT recruiters, it's HR professionals and talent acquisition, and literally on stage, on site, and online globally. This is what I've been doing, and it is my thing. I also, yes, am the creator of the online academy that we have, which has been running for 8 years now to a global audience. So if people can't attend my live events, if they can't arrange on-site events, then we put them onto our online academy, and that is 100 hours of training, 1,000 mind maps. Honestly, people use this as an ongoing resource, and they get certified all the way through. So nothing more than that. If you think my face is familiar, it's possibly because you've seen me on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn instructor for this particular topic as well. So my modules some of them are on the LinkedIn library, and we've made a load of friends from that. But ladies and gentlemen, today it is all about this topic here. And it's an absolute honor to be able to bring this to you. Because actually what it is, it's all about this thing that happened one Wednesday evening. Now, we were all unaware. There was no huge fanfare, but on that Wednesday evening, on the 30th of November, 2022, the world changed. And this was a company in San Francisco released the product to the public. No fanfare, no global launch event, no advertising campaign. They just opened a door. And ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we walked through that door along with 1 million of other people. Now, of course, I'm not here to talk about ChatGPT, but what I want to do is emphasize one thing, that this happened 3 years ago. And 3 years flies by, but in AI terms, 3 years is ancient history. So ChatGPT now is just another system in an echo chamber full of AI systems such as Claude, OpenClaw, DeepSeek, Grok. And there are more and more new ones coming out every single day. And suddenly we are realizing that wherever we are adopting some of these, and AI is rapidly becoming the de facto operating system for most business models, and in fact for most of our lives. And in terms of business, if they are calling this their operating system, well, it is changing what is happening inside the IT department, and therefore it is changing what is happening with IT roles. And that is something you as tech recruiters, your teams as tech recruiters, really need to know about. So when we think about it, all of these people, the developers, the data engineers, the project managers, security specialists, the analysts, and the architects, these are people who've spent a lot of time and effort, 5, 10, 15 years building expertise around this identity of being a developer, of being a data engineer. But after that Wednesday evening, everything stopped. And suddenly they were greeted with a box. And in this box you could type in something. It wasn't just a question like Google, but in that box, you could write instructions. And suddenly the world changed. You could say, write the code, draft the requirements document, generate test cases, and produce status reports. All of these were doable, and the machine did it. Not perfectly, not perfectly, but fast. And it was improving at an exponential rate. And this term exponential in these last couple of years has taken on an interesting meaning. It's almost lost its meaning because of the rate of pace of change. And I'm going to pause here because I just want to illustrate what I mean by this. We all saw this video, you know. Um, this was something that we found almost awkward and clumsy when it first came out, you know? And then things got better. And suddenly we weren't laughing anymore at the awkwardness of AI. In fact, fast forward 3 years, and frankly, we started to watch in stunned silence at the results.
So have you heard of Kling 3.0?
I heard it can create multiple scene cuts like this with a single prompt. And it knows when to cut to whoever is talking.
But did you know that all this audio was also generated with the same prompt?
I guess I didn't, sir.
Study harder, kid. Eat your spaghetti.
Eat your spaghetti. That was the rate of change of AI. And of course, it's the same with the tools, and it's the same with the way they are impacting IT roles. And that's where we are going to go. It's to understand that what is happening at the moment is not something that I've seen in the last 24 years. You know, in the past, it has all been about people, people using tools. But today, actually, what it is, this changed something entirely. This questioned the very nature of the person, the role of the human in this new era. And they were asking the question, what is my function now in the era of AI? Now, this question, once it enters a profession, does not leave quietly. This is the conversation that we are about to have today. And I got to ask you a question for your teams. So, when was the last time you updated your screening processes for the roles that we are going to talk about today? Not the job, not the spec, not even the sourcing channels, but the role in the light of AI. So, I want to take you back a bit to a time before GPT. And if you were recruiting in those days, that IT department actually looked very different before we walked through that door. So classically, it's still the same. Even now, when we think about IT and even when we train our people on IT, as recruiters, well, of course, we use this mind map. We've got 1,000 mind maps on our learning system, and we give those over. But this is the first one that we start with, and it's a very beautiful one because it actually shows all the individual silos in the IT department. It's a lovely way to learn about IT because you have infrastructure, software development, cybersecurity. For 20 years, recruitment teams have created vertical desks based around this. Makes absolute sense. You had infrastructure teams, people who kept the lights on, managing servers, all of that sort of good stuff. But now what we need to do is maybe think again, because this analogy, we thought of it like a house, and that house has distinct disciplines, very clear skill requirements. You knew what a strong infrastructure person was, you knew what a strong developer CV looked like. And when we use this analogy of a house, each room had its own furniture, its own language, its own rules, its own people who had spent years learning to belong in that room. The infrastructure team in one room, their responsibility was the servers, networks, uptime, support, maintenance. Then in another room, completely different, you had uh, developers writing code, building things from nothing, people who spent a lifetime learning to speak the language of code, syntax, backend, front end, libraries, frameworks. And in the same way, you had security, data, project managers, business analysts, and support, each in their own room, each with their own domain. And as a technical recruiter, it was beautiful because you sourced and interviewed for those particular domains. And that is the key thing. There were very defined lines. You knew what a strong CV looked like for each of these, and you knew what managers wanted. The skills checklist made sense. But the point that I'm making here is that today, this house uh, is changing. And basically, what is happening is that something arrived, um, and it took away this idea of the house having clearly defined lines. This thing called AI came in, and it came in not through the front door, but through every window simultaneously. And it didn't completely get rid of the walls, but it started to dissolve the walls. In fact, AI started permeating across those walls and affecting each role almost at the same time, overlapping many of the skills in ways that we had never seen before. And this is what AI is doing. And the question on everybody's lips now is, where do I come in? Where is the line between what I do and what AI does? And I'm sure you're all aware of this. Now, I'm going to go deeper into these roles, but I need to let you know that we have created an amazing application for you. So basically, I just want to make sure you are aware of this, that at the end of the event, I'm going to send you a link. And on that link, through that link, you're actually going to be able to get through to this. In other words, what we have done is created a tool that you can actually disseminate to your teams after this particular session. And in here, you've got lots of goodies, but I'm going to actually tap into that now. I will send you the link, as I said, or the team was going to send you the link after we finish all of this material. And let me just jump over to that. Have we got a live version? There you go. Yes. So what you're going to be able to do here, once you've got this, is you're going to be able to go to this thing called a transformation map, which I based around today's lecture, today's training session. Screening framework, reckoning, no problem. But more importantly, this executive summary, which we have created for you as well. So this is a 23-page summary based on more than we are going to cover today. But let me just quickly use this to start our conversation about how AI is impacting these roles. And I want to show you how you're going to use this afterwards. So you click this thing called transformation map, and here you've got a whole bunch of roles. Now you can see there's some key roles in there. If they're not covered here, they'll be covered in the executive briefing. But if you go to software developer, here is the transformation map for software developers. So I'm just going to try and zoom in here, see if we can get that. There you go. Fantastic. And so you can see here what has been absorbed by AI and what has been left by AI, so that we can actually elevate ourselves as human beings. So if I take a quick gander at this, writing boilerplate code. Boilerplate, by the way, is the procedural basic stuff that junior programmers did back in the day. A lot of that has been taken over by AI. The basic unit testing, they are procedural, they are automated, that's taken over by AI. Documenting, just basic documentation, definitely taken over by AI. But look at the terms, and there's a theme that goes through our session today. And we think about validation, scrutiny, design of architecture. That is us. In the same way, I'm just going to come down to what's next. Now, all of this I'm going to cover today, so don't worry about that. But I've got it, as I said, condensed into this dashboard for you. If you click on security, you'll be able to see, of course, routine monitoring. Basic threat detection is all covered by AI. Log aggregation is covered by AI, and that makes sense. But when you come to the human terms, there are things like judgment, shadow AI governance, and I'm going to talk more about this as we go into the session, and compliance. So all of these terms are coming up in our job specs, and we need to make sure we understand those. I'm going to take you through those in a bit more detail. And so it goes on. Data is there, project managers, BAs, but I am going to cover later on in the session not only data, but also native AI roles. And I'm going to come back to this. So it's just to show you this beautiful thing that we've created, which is a dashboard for you post training today. And this is the executive summary for you. So I'll come back to that. So let me just jump back to my slides. Here we go. There we go. Back to the slides. And so, as I said, you're going to get all of this after, towards the end, when I give you the link for that. Team will get ready and send you that. Now, I want to quickly show you this summary table here. So there it is. You can see that it's all about judgment and accountability where we come in. We're looking at the human side in terms of emotional intelligence, negotiation, that sort of thing continues to be where we are strongest. But we're going to get into the detail of this now. But the key thing I want you to understand going forward, and the questioning that I need your recruiters to bring into play now, is based on an understanding of the machine does the thing, but it's the humans who own the consequence. And that is one of the big themes that keeps coming up. So let's dive into that role now in much more detail. Here we go. So this software developer is where we're going to go now. And I want to be absolutely clear before we get into the numbers, because there has been a narrative, and we all saw it when it first came out, that, and it was mind-blowing, AI writes the code, developers become redundant, the role disappears. We all heard this, and this was a meme, a narrative that occurred very quickly, a bit out of fear to a certain extent. But this is actually not what is happening. And now we're coming out from the other side, if you like. So what is happening is both more interesting and more important for you and me. Firstly, take a look at this study. So the GitHub Copilot study was a controlled study. Developers were shown to be completing tasks 56% faster than those working without AI. And this was huge because when a CTO sees this sort of thing, well, suddenly they're thinking in a very different way. This becomes an opportunity. They are thinking about budgets, about contemplating why they're actually paying developers to do certain things. But then here is the flip side. Here is what nobody is really talking about alongside with these numbers. So the people inside know. A 2025 report from Veracode said that 45% of AI-generated code contains security vulnerabilities. If you bring Java into play, that rises up to 72%. And that was a kind of turning point in this idealized version of what AI was doing with code and how it was affecting the role of a developer. The same developers who are shipping code 55% faster are also shipping vulnerabilities at that rate. And it turns out that most experienced developers are spending 11 hours a week cleaning up bad code, not building, cleaning. So the productivity gain is definitely real, but the accountability gap is just as real. So when we think about the way we used to interview developers, we would ask about languages and frameworks, how much they can ship and how fast they can ship, and give us some proof of that. But the new profile is all about how good are they at supervising what the machine has created? Can they spot when it looks right, but it actually isn't right? Can they own the consequence when errors actually get through? So what we're seeing on job specs are terms like these. There are phrases like experience with AI-assisted development tools, ability to review and validate AI-generated code, security-conscious development practices in AI contexts. So look at this. All of these are huge, and they weren't there. These are phrases that you didn't see 3 years ago on job specs. And so here are my 3 interview questions, I guess, for you in terms of if you're recruiting the future of developers. You would bring in terms like, how do you validate AI-generated code before it goes to production? Tell me about a time when you rejected an AI suggestion. What made you reject it? How do you handle sensitive data exposure when working with AI coding tools? These are all beautiful because what they do is they actually address the key thing. The developer who just accepts what the AI gives them have basically handed their judgment over to a machine that doesn't carry the consequences. And that is a key thing here. Once again, it's the machine does the thing, the human owns the consequence. All right. The machine writes the code and the human owns the consequence. Now let's move over to really consequential. We're talking about security. So security and cybersecurity, I'll come over to that in a minute. Now, I want to start again with a stat that stops people in their tracks every time I share this one. And that is that 87% of professionals have experienced some form of AI-driven attack in the last year. But notably, there are 4.8 million unfilled positions protecting this cyber company fortress. Because that company fortress is under immense pressure and the financial stakes are equally high. And if you think about shadow AI breaches, if you don't know what they are, we're going to cover that in a minute. But shadow AI breaches cost on average $670,000 per incident. And this is only going to get worse. Gartner predicts it will rise to 40%. The future of AI breaches, they think the majority of them will actually be through ungoverned generative AI tools. Okay, so demand is through the roof. The threat landscape is changing faster than most teams can keep up. And these are not people that we have necessarily qualified in this way yet. So look at what is appearing on security specs that wasn't there 3 years ago. Prompt injection awareness, data poisoning defense, shadow AI governance, AI model security auditing. If your team is screening security candidates without probing for any of this nowadays, you're really screening for a version of cyber roles that no longer exist. Interview questions should now, from the cyber team, be much more like this. Describe an AI-driven threat your team encountered. What was your response, and what governance did you put in place to prevent it happening again? So just making sure that this one question tells you whether you are looking at someone who's genuinely lived in this environment or someone who's possibly just studied what is happening with AI. And this word governance turns up time and time again, but it is increasingly more important today. Let me focus on that for a moment. Every organization right now has employees using tools that the IT department may not even know about. This is true. ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, your employees, your teams are actually using these, and they're loaded on personal devices, running in browser extensions, connected to Word, email, processing client documents, drafting proposals, summarizing contracts. They're all done through these tools. Now, nobody signed off on this. Nobody assessed the data risk of these. And that is what is known as shadow AI. And it is really not a future risk, but it's actually something that is happening inside your clients right now, today. And IBM, when they do this cost of data breach report, they put an average cost on shadow AI breaches as I said, around $670,000 per incident. Now, this is before we even get to this area of how it impacts a company from a regulatory dimension. So the EU Act came into force in 2024. It's a great act because it kind of starts to address this sort of thing, the world's first comprehensive legal framework governing AI. And it places direct, specific obligations on organizations deploying AI in high-risk contexts. Now, what do we mean by high-risk contexts? Of course, we're thinking about the industries such as financial services, healthcare, anywhere where there's hiring decisions, where credit scoring is involved, educational assessment. If your clients are using any of these in these areas, and most of them are, by the way, they are now operating in a regulated environment, and there are huge fines for those who can't comply to this through their AI tools. So someone inside this organization has to own that responsibility. And so these are the terms that are coming up. And you need to be clear that these are huge, big strategic roles: AI governance lead, AI ethics officer, responsible AI manager, the AI compliance specialist. These are the epitome of the way AI is impacting the IT department and IT roles today. These titles are appearing in financial services, healthcare, insurance, public sector right now. And most recruitment teams really have no framework for understanding these at all. And in fact, it's worth understanding that these are not purely technical roles. These are not purely legal roles either. The person who owns AI governance sits at the intersection of a number of concepts: technology, change management, risk, compliance. So these are a number of different disciplines, and this person needs to have an understanding of really all of them, because governing AI in an organization means convincing people to slow down, document things, follow processes, and sometimes stop using tools that they may already have built their workflows around. So really, really important. That combination doesn't come packaged neatly in a professional pack. The best candidates are often coming from senior compliance, risk, or technology roles, and they have been living closest to the problem as it has emerged during this era of AI. People, I hope you're getting this. There's a lot of good stuff here. And I'm sure, I hope that a lot of you are familiar with this, but we're structuring it properly. In terms of interview questions, at this level, what you're asking is something like: describe a situation where an AI system your organization was using produced an output that created regulatory, ethical, or data risks. That absolutely goes without saying. Now, that is security and governance, but it actually isn't cybersecurity. Now, when we come to something like cybersecurity, well, of course, AI is really interesting and really scary, because AI is simultaneously the threat and the defense at the same time. The same technology that attackers are using to craft more convincing, faster moving threats, security teams are deploying those to detect and respond as well. So this is in effect an arms race fought with exactly the same weapon on both sides of the fence. And in the middle of this arms race, someone has to make a decision. Again, that's the same concept. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when an alert fires and nobody's quite sure whether this is a false positive or the real thing, there has got to be a human being sitting in front of a screen making a call, because we trained the AI to flag it. The data was there and the pattern was there. But, at the end of the day, it's up to someone to think: do you shut down the production system and lose millions of pounds, or do you investigate quietly and risk letting something through that is probably not that harmful? Now, this is not a technical decision. This is a judgment call, a commercial judgment call, a deeply human one. And no algorithm currently carries the weight of getting it wrong. I don't even want to bring in AGI. Let's say we're a few years off of that. But, that's going to impact the humanity concept quite a bit. But again, the machine flags the potential danger, but it's the human who owns the concept. No algorithm carries the weight of getting it wrong. All right. Once again, machine flags the danger and the human makes the judgment call. So now let's flick over to data. All right. Huge. I don't think you quite understand how huge this is, because it gets underestimated in a conversation about AI. And everyone is talking about AI systems and models, the chatbots, the automation, the LLMs, but very few people are talking about actually what this whole AI thing runs on. And really, it is data, loads and loads of data. Weird terms, quintillion, right? 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every single day are generated now, especially with AI systems. Now, I know that that number probably means nothing to you on its own, but let me give you I think I've got a chart with a simple context in place. There you go. In the year 2000, the entire world had accumulated roughly 1.5 exabytes of data. All the world, everything ever stored digitally, every file, every document, every photograph, every database, 1.5 exabytes, 2000. Today, we generate more than that before lunchtime. And every AI system your client is building needs to be fed with that kind of level of data, structured. It's got to be structured, governed, trusted data. Otherwise, we get all sorts of issues coming in. Data is at the heart of AI. 67% of data leaders have already deployed AI analytic tools, and 61% of them are now struggling to retain or retrain their analysts, into using those tools. The transformation is happening, and it's already inside your building. 5 years ago, the data engineer built pipelines, solid, important work, databases, SQL structured databases, but largely invisible. It's the same paradigm that's been going on for many years, but today those same engineers are responsible for something entirely different. They are building the foundational structure of AI systems, the structure that AI systems reason from. And you see terms like vector databases and RAG. And these are huge concepts when it comes down to AI and the way it thinks about data. So I'm going to fly through these in layman's terms, but a vector database is different from the old SQL databases in that it stores context and meaning rather than keywords. Okay, in the old days, you used to search for keywords. Now it's about all the context around that. So if I was searching for a book about dogs, it wouldn't just bring me titles with dogs in it. It would bring puppies and titles that had canine in it. So much more nuanced with vector databases. And they are the reason why AI systems are seeming to be more clever and incisive and understanding of different things about us. Now, RAG, retrieval augmented generation, is the framework that AI uses to retrieve all that data. So if you ever see that, it's kind of the infrastructure and the framework behind it. But I'm going to leave that there for now because we can dive into that rabbit hole. Every AI system your clients are building their futures on depend and run on data that a human being has designed, structured, governed, and trusted. If that data is biased, the AI is biased. If that data is incomplete, the AI reasons from gaps, which we of course call hallucinations. It makes things up because it wants to cover the gaps. If it is ungoverned, the AI makes decisions that no one can explain and no one can really defend or take responsibility for. But this is the future of the data professional. The people who have spent years quietly sitting in the background are suddenly becoming the architect of the company's AI system. And once again, it's all about the machine creates the thing. The machine creates the AI decisions based on data, but actually at the end of the day, it's the human who will continually need to be retrained in terms of making sure that that data integrity is better and better, because we are starting to rely on these things so very much. So you can see the trend. And so it goes on with all the roles, folks. We haven't got time today to go into all of this. Where are we? We're about 40 minutes. But if we look at project managers, business analysts, support, business intelligence, AI absorbs the repetitive layer, the humans reclaim the strategic and the creative layer. So this is essentially always going to be the way. The machine does the thing, the human owns the consequence. And I think this is the future of the IT department, that every role needs to be able to take responsibility for those consequences, because everywhere the machine will absorb the automation and the processes, Gantt charts, BRDs, process maps, all of that sort of documentation, transcripts. They're great at that. But at the end of the day, the humans will sit in this area of creative and strategic um, uh, intellect, in terms of, for now, in terms of what they contribute to this. So things like negotiation, emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, judgment under pressure. These are all things that the human will continue to do. Now, before I wrap this roles thing up, because remember that executive summary that I showed you about in our website is immense. So there's going to be more roles in there. But I do need to, of course, show you the AI native roles, because everything we have talked about so far have been about the transformation of roles that existed before 2022 and have since been transformed by AI. But this is different. These are roles that were born of AI. They came from AI. And these are terms that never existed again before the whole GPT thing. AI engineers, their average salary is still huge, up 50%, up 50,000 from the previous year in 2025 at around the 200K mark. Let me say that again, up 50,000 in 1 year. Things have probably changed in 2026 a touch, but all of these, the machine learning ops engineer, prompt engineer, I've got a feeling that this will be watered down as AI systems get better at really just advising you on the prompts. AI governance lead, the fastest growing demand in regulatory industries right now, which is what I've just mentioned. AI platform engineers is something you should know about. Are you all seeing these slides? Yes, absolutely. AI product manager. So these aren't terms that, we just plonked AI onto. These are real transformations of roles, and none of these roles existed. These are all born of AI. But when you see a product manager, that exists already. But when you look at an AI product manager, the tools are completely different. The thinking is very different. Now, here's the other thing that I want you to understand, that in this arena here, the same title does not mean the same job. Okay, so an AI engineer building customer-facing features using an existing API can be called an AI engineer, but they are going to have a completely different set of skills to an AI engineer who's designing a RAG pipeline for a company. So same job title, but you will need to go in and ask them, what is the nature of your role? You cannot shortlist for one and expect it to serve the other. So there's a lot of that going on in here as well. And McKinsey projects that the demand for AI roles will exceed supply by between 30 to 40% by 2027. So this was fascinating. It also, this study showed that the average time to hire for a senior AI role is 60 to 90 days. It's not huge. What it really means is that every week with the wrong CV or candidate sent is time that your client doesn't have. Every time you leave an AI native brief, I would say you need to answer you need to have answered these 3 questions here. So these are AI native interview questions. What specific outcome does this person need to build within AI? Is it a product deployment? Is it something to do with research? Is it an experimental role? Which part of the AI stack does the day-to-day work actually sit on? When you start bringing these things into your team's lexicon, when the team starts saying this on the phone, then you know they are actually starting to get to grips with what is currently happening in the market. Strategically, what you need to remember is that only 14% of technology leaders say they have the right talent to meet their current AI infrastructure goals. Okay, 71% of IT leaders say that their data centers cannot yet meet today's AI demands. And of course, all the global issues that are going on kind of impinge on that as well. And Cisco put it best. The network, if we start thinking about not software, but infrastructure, the network is no longer just infrastructure. It is the strategy. It is the value. I hope you've enjoyed that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a quick swoop across the roles relating to AI. I'm just looking at the time. I hope this is making sense, because what I'm going to jump onto now is the recruiters pivot on this. So kind of like a conclusion, really. And we've swept through this, but we're creating an entire academy based on the future of IT roles, how to deal with everything I've just said, but actually much more detailed. And it will be trained in the same way that we've been training the IT roles for the past 20 years. But let's just go back and understand all of this in conclusion. We started with a Wednesday evening in November 2022, the door that opened and millions of people walked through it. That journey is really just beginning for the IT department, and of course, therefore, for our recruitment industry. The key thing to understand for you is AI doesn't look like it's eliminating roles, but actually, it is eliminating the least developed versions of them. So make sure that your recruiters understand what has changed and what is staying the same. Clearly, the person who comes in and understands what has changed will be most likely to succeed going forward. So now the role of the tech recruiter, your teams, will be one of keeping up to speed on this. It requires you to really genuinely understand what is happening in the world of AI and how it's impacting the IT department. I'm sure that's hitting home. Now that is pretty much we're coming up to the hour session. I hope that has helped. It's just we're scratching the surface, and I just want to dive into a lot of these in much more detail. But what I would say is don't relax or shoot off just yet, because there are a couple of things that I need to make sure we get to you before you leave today. Firstly, there is that link. Let's just make sure. So I'm going to get that link across to you. And that's for that recap website, that dashboard, and the 20-page executive summary report. Now, but before we do that, there is something special. That was really, all of this was really for you as recruitment managers. This whole session was designed for senior level. But I want to give you something very special for your IT recruiters as well. And that is access to our next big event in May, May 15th and 16th. Okay, so that's my next date. If you've got teams who you want to bring up to speed rapidly, not about everything we've discussed here, but really people who've had no formal training besides training on the job, well, this is a full 2-day, one of the famous boot camps that I do, the IT Recruitment Foundation's 2-day masterclass, and it is happening on May 15th. This is not a webinar. This is a full-on workshop delivered by me personally, and it's on May the 15th, 16th. I'll be running more of these in different time zones as well. So if you're in America, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, let me know. We'll talk about other time zones. But for now, this is the one we're focusing on. This is UK time. We will be running from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. UK time. And in fact, the best way to do this is flick back over to our website dashboard. And let me do that now. So here I am back on the website. And what you need to do, if you're interested in sending your teams to this, you need to click on this and it will take you to the correct page. This is the boot camp page. So it's there, folks. Now, look, here you have the full days of the full details of the 2 days. But I want you to pay special attention to this thing here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is limited to 30 people. So it's only going to be the first 30 people who accept this that will be able to come on. And it's important because this is not a webinar. This is not a live large event with 700 people. It's not for 1 hour, it's for 6 hours. It's a full interactive boot camp over 2 days where there will be quizzes, workshops, their own presentations as well. So they'll actually take part. And what we're going to do here is we always keep the numbers down on this. 30 is my, I guess, upper limit unless pushed. So we're going to take them from the very basics right through to higher level stuff. And we're going to cover things like cybersecurity, cloud, infrastructure. We're going to give them all the basics without blowing their minds too much. So we'll take them from operating systems to application software, take them through the languages, but make sure we understand infrastructure as well. On day 2, how do you do that? You just come over here. There will be a real focus on databases, data warehouses, the world of methodology. So we'll get them introduced to really what is the difference between waterfall, agile, DevOps, Kanban, understanding how all of this thing evolved and how different those candidates are to each other. And we'll take them through the roles from BA right through to testers and support people, and also the evolution of IT roles with the impact of AI. So we'll make sure we touch on that. Folks, this is the famous one that I've been doing for 20 years. And this is basically the one that gets people back to their desk with a renewed motivation, a renewed energy, because they suddenly see the whole landscape of IT recruitment in one fell swoop, and then suddenly it's much more manageable. It's not a fog of jargon or terminology. We put context into this. You will find that people remember the stuff from these 2 days, and suddenly their conversations are changing and their feeling about their role changes as well. So we're going to give them that. Plus, we're going to give them 1 month free access to the Holistica Academy. Now, be clear, this is a separate licensing that we normally do, but for those people coming on the 15th and 16th, I think it is, we are going to also give them 1 month free access to 100 hours of training, recorded training, 1,000 mind maps, an AI tool that they use during their learning. They can finish all the master classes that they want during that 30-day period, from recruiting cybersecurity to SAP to software development, or even keep it to the basics. And they will get certified in all of those areas. I'm not going to jump in and show you the live online academy because there is just so much to show you, but it takes you from the basics right through to every vertical you can mention. So infrastructure, SAP, everything is there. So they've got the entire platform at their disposal for 30 days as well. So what you're getting here is basically 2-day boot camp and that's delivered by me personally, the multi-award winning coach in this area, plus the 30 days online access to the academy. And what we're doing here before we is actually offer this to you who have attended this LinkedIn Live audience. So basically, if you've attended today, we're going to give this out to you before we launch it openly on LinkedIn as a platform. And so the standard rate for this is £720, and I'm not even talking about the platform here, the online platform. For the boot camp, it's usually $720 for the 2-day event. But as I said, I want to kind of make this a no-brainer for you to join me to get your people on the boot camp. And so we're going to do this for $329 for the 2 days. That's not per day. That's $329 for the 2 days. Plus you'll get the 1 month free. As I said, it is a no-brainer, but it is going to be limited to 30 people. And so whoever comes first, we'll just put it there. It's not going to go live on LinkedIn until the week after Easter, which is this weekend, but I'm hoping this will pretty much be wrapped up by then. So whoever wants to go for that, all you need to do, let me show you again. We're going to send you a link, and there you'll be able to get access to your dashboard. But if you want to jump onto this offer that we've just made, you can just click on that and it will take you there. And to be honest, people who just sign off will probably get it. So if there is huge demand, sometimes there is, we then open up possibly another date, but not sure about this price. So there you go. Click that and secure your teams for a future of confidence and credibility rather than just word matching and kind of trying to keep up with the conversation. By the way, if you are going to go for this, can you please also type bootcamp in the comments section? So we know that if the payment system goes wrong or whatever, we can keep in touch and we can actually get that across to you. There you go. All right. So we're going to get the link to you. Now, if for any reason it's not working on here, we're going to put the link in the comments section of the session today. Let me go back to the slides. It's been a heavy session. It's been an absolute honor to present this to you. Now, with regards to the constraints of the hour, I didn't want to carry on with a huge questions session. But actually, what I'm thinking is this. Do put your questions and comments in the comment stream with this particular live session. And what I will do is I will make sure that we will use the interesting ones for the future LinkedIn Live. So I'm going to do more of these live events. If you'd enjoy these, get your teams to comment, connect with me. And of course, more and more of your senior team to connect with me, because we are going to carry on doing live events. Some of them will be answering the questions that you have asked, which I think would warrant training the entire recruitment industry on, because they'll require clarification on this. So if you for any reason can't come back to the comment stream, DM me directly. You know who I am now, Ayub Sheikh, and we will take it from there. But until the next live event, I wish you peace, love, and happiness. And I really do hope to see you again on the next live event. All the very best. Hey team, I hope you enjoyed that. That was in its entirety. Now, of course, I realized that we would normally have put the links in the comments section during the live event. We didn't do that. So I am going to give you a number of QR codes that are coming up now, and all you need to do is snap these and that will take you to the pages that you need. So firstly, that really all important dashboard where you can retain all of the information that I've just given you, but also the executive summary. And you can pass that to anyone you want. So that is the first QR code. The second QR code, although you can get to there from the dashboard as well, I showed you in the presentation, is the code for the bootcamp, the 14th, 15th May bootcamp. So if you want to go directly there, you can go there. And of course, the payment link is in there to take advantage of that special offer that we mentioned in the session. Folks, hope you enjoy that. Hope that's been useful. And I look forward to seeing you next time. All the very best.